What a world. Welcome to the episode of I Bleed Sports. As you know, I am the host, Brandon Janeau. Like always on all podcast platforms everywhere. Brandon Janeau Show. Social media platforms. Instagram, Threads, Brandon Janeau. Facebook, The Brandon Janeau Show. And of course, TikTok, Brandon Janeau Show. Go follow me on all of those social media platforms. I would appreciate it if you did. Really, where you go, though, is the YouTube channel, man. Brandon Janeau Show YouTube channel. Um, Subscribe, comment, like. Um, Helps in the algorithm if you did. Shout out to all the new subscribers for the last couple of months. Excuse me. Thank you all. 2025 is officially on its way out, and my show's been pretty good. I mean, I've done some things this season, so it's been pretty fun. And last episode is next week, which I will close out with Wrestling Life. And I'm assuming, the point of view of random shit, because I'm thinking about doing one of those. But we shall see about that. Like I said, tonight is I Bleed Sports, but this is a very special I Bleed Sports. And of course, I got the I Bleed Sports Awards that I will be recording hopefully tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow I'll be recording the I Bleed Sports Awards, which will be out this weekend, sometime this week. So yeah. But yeah, man. This is a special I Bleed Sports. This is about the college football playoff. Yesterday, it officially was the 12-team playoff officially announced. 12 teams that are in are finally in, and we now know who will be in. Well, I have something to say about that. How I feel about that. So let's get into it, man. Let's kick this off with the simplest one, which is Alabama. Alabama is in the college football playoffs. They are the ninth seed in the college football playoffs after losing in the SEC championship game to the Georgia Bulldogs, who they beat earlier in the season in Athens, Georgia. They beat them earlier in the season, and they got in after losing 28-7 in the SEC championship game. All day, the conversation has been, was this the right decision? Was it truly the right decision? Should Alabama even be in the playoffs? Because there was literally two spots given to three teams. Alabama was the ninth seed, Miami, who's the 10th seed, and Notre Dame, who is the first team out of the college playoffs. And immediately people will start to sit there and say, well, Alabama was right to be in. I mean, a lot of people will sit there and just automatically go with the SEC bias and sit there and say, well, Alabama deserves to be in. Alabama deserves to be in. Look at the SEC. Look at them this season. I, as an SEC kid, I'm an LSU fan. As an SEC kid, I've watched this shit. I watched SEC for a decade plus dominate college football. I mean, fucking dominated. If it wasn't LSU, it was Florida. And if it wasn't Florida, it was Alabama. And if it wasn't Alabama, then it became, here comes Georgia. The SEC has always been the dominant conference up until the last couple of years where the Big Ten has had Michigan and Ohio State and now Indiana. You had now Penn State, you have Oregon, you got Washington, Big Ten has done their due diligence in the last couple of years, winning especially winning the last two national championships. The question is, should Alabama be in? No, they shouldn't. Alabama, and once you look at the schedule, and some people are going to sit there and say, well, look at who Alabama played. They played a lot of teams in the top. 50 of college football. Come on, man, you gotta give them that credit. Are we going off of the records? Are we going off of because if we looking at the actual physical teams that they fucking played in the games they played, they either severely struggled in the game, like barely fucking won the game, especially against LSU. Watching that game, it was like, damn, nigga, can you at least try to score? Like if LSU had a actual defense, not a defense, if they had an actual offense, that game would have LSU probably would have won that game. I'm gonna be honest with you. If LSU would have had an actual offense in that game, because that defense was still stopping the shit out of Alabama. If LSU had an actual offense the entire game, LSU would have beat Alabama. That's just facts. I know people gonna say that, when LSU would have beat Alabama, bro. That defense of LSU this whole season was great, but that offense was fucking atrocious, and it was bad all year. It didn't matter who you put in there; it was just a bad offense. And no matter who you fired, it was a bad offense. Alabama getting in is the highest form of SEC bias I've ever seen. You can't tell me that the college football schedule matters until you get into the SEC play or when you get into conference play. Everybody else has to jump a fucking hope and a hurdle just to get into the fucking college football playoffs. But except for fucking Alabama, who's lost 3 fucking games. And 2 of the 3 games that they've actually lost, they got their ass handed to them. It wasn't like it was severely fucking close. Like that Florida State game in week 1, I know a lot of people want to pretend like that didn't happen. It fucking happened. They did not show up. They played fucking terrible. And it was a bad fucking game. Yeah, they went on a winning streak afterwards, but you still fucking lost to literally one of the worst teams in the ACC. You can't turn around and then tell me that game didn't matter, like we didn't fucking watch it week 1. And if Alabama had destroyed Florida State, you would have sat there and said, well, they beat Florida State. They did the same thing Miami did. You can't move the goalpost when the fuck you feel like it. And that's what the fuck we're trying to tell you. You can't, I don't know, every fucking year it feels like this committee just switches the fuck up. It's like every fucking year. Last year, it was literally the best teams get in. Okay, cool. Didn't matter if you won a conference or not. Cool. That's great. Cool. And then this year, Alabama has 3 losses. 2 of them were fucking blowouts. One of them was literally Saturday, and you fully saw their ass get handed to them. And you sat there and still said, no matter what they're in, no matter what, no matter what they're in. And that's where the fuck the problem kicks in. Because the damn conversation was never a debate. It was never three teams for 2 spots. Alabama was in regardless. And that tells me, that's why I says SEC bias. Because there's no way in fucking hell you about to tell me, you sit here and tell me that they have 3 losses, but you only count the 2 losses in the SEC. I said this a couple of weeks ago when I did I Bleed Sports. I said, I don't know how the fuck Alabama is the one that controls their fate in the SEC when Texas A&M has been undefeated all fucking year. I don't understand how that makes logical fucking sense. And then they get to the SEC championship game and they get absolutely fucking killed by Georgia. I don't know how you make that excuse. I don't know how you can sit here and give me that they belong in because they beat most of the SEC teams. I don't give a fuck who they played. The only good win they had, 2 wins. They beat Vanderbilt when Vanderbilt was undefeated. And then they beat Georgia when Georgia was undefeated. Outside of that, you try to tell me Missouri and you try to tell me LSU. It's like, my nigga, did you watch these fucking teams this year? Or are you just going off of the fucking ranking? Because if you're looking at a ranking, yeah, they look like they're good. But if you actually watch the fucking teams, you're like, bro, Missouri got their ass handed to them by Texas A&M. The fuck are you talking about? Like they got their ass beat down by Texas A&M. Like that shit wasn't even close. The fuck are you talking about? LSU wasn't good for most of the year. Defensively, we were good. Offensively, we sucked. So bad to the point we fired Brian Kelly in the season. We sucked so bad, we fired that motherfucker in the season. And then y'all try to give these niggas this dub over LSU when that was their first game with their interim head coach. And you sitting there trying to say, but that's a gut right. This shit is SEC bias at its highest. There is no way in hell you about to sit up when Alabama has literally the worst fucking loss. Like you can't even, out of those three teams, Alabama should have been a third team on the line. There's no way around that shit. Miami beat Notre Dame. Yes, Miami's losses was to Louisville and SMU, 100%. But Louisville beat James Madison, which I'll talk about in a minute. The only loss James Madison has is to Louisville, who beat Miami. So is Louisville a bad team? Because I don't think Louisville's a bad fucking team. But and by the way, if the fucking ACC was smart, Louisville, who also finished with a tiebreaker for the fucking chance to be in the ACC championship game. And if they play Virginia and they beat Virginia, that's 3 dubs to top 25 teams. The fuck are we talking about? And Notre Dame lost their 2 games by a combined 4 fucking points. And by the way, their first 2 games of the season was to Miami and Texas A&M. So when you sit here and try to say, well, they should have played tougher teams, I fucking guess, dude. I fucking guess. They lost a 3-point game to Miami and Miami. They lost a 1-point game to Texas A&M. Texas A&M, who, by the way, was undefeated for most of the year up until Black Friday against Texas. But yet people will tell you Notre Dame should have never made the playoffs. Nigga, what? When Alabama got their ass handed to them by Florida State week 1, and again, like I said, we try to negate that shit because Florida State had a bad season. You can't, and this again goes to the schedule, bro. You scheduled these niggas to play them and dominate them, and they actually ended up beating the fuck out of you. And then they had the bullshit season they had. You should have never fucking lost that game. I heard that this morning. I was like, did this nigga just literally sit there and say that it doesn't matter that Florida State had a bad season? Florida State beat Alabama, nigga. One of their, 4 or 5 wins this season was to Alabama, who's now magically in the fucking playoffs. And it wasn't even a debate. It wasn't even a goddamn conversation. When you are the 9th seed and it was like Alabama, easily. What? Nigga, how? Explain that to me, please. These wins that y'all trying to get these niggas. Bro, Missouri wasn't good all season. They lost a lot of games this year. LSU sucked for a good stretch of the season. To the point where we fired our head coach. Y'all giving these niggas wins over Florida and shit like that. I'm like, bro, the teams that y'all are trying to sit here and get these dudes only work in your mind. Y'all kept people, and this is why I always hate this fucking college football playoff, and I hate these rankings. Because I know you're only keeping teams in the top 25 so you can justify why an Alabama at the end of this fucking playoffs is in the playoffs. There is no way in hell you kept LSU in the college football playoffs after losing to Vanderbilt. You lost 2 or 3 games before you even got to the Alabama game. And yet you sit there and try to say, well, LSU's in. So you could sit there and say, well, Alabama beat a top 25 team. So that resume looks great. Same thing with Missouri. Same thing with Missouri. The only 2 wins I qualify Alabama having this whole season is Vanderbilt and Georgia. That's it. That's it. Those are only Vanderbilt was actually undefeated and good for a good stretch of the season. And they beat Georgia in Georgia, which they were undefeated at the time. But then that shit should have negated because Georgia just beat the shit out of Alabama in that SEC championship game. So how the fuck does Alabama get in when, again, you've been routed in 2 of the 3 losses? I can't remember what the score was in the Oklahoma game. I think it was pretty close. But you've been routed in 3 of your 2 losses. In 2 of your 3 losses, you had no fucking chance. And for a good stretch of the season, your offense just shut the fuck down. They were not doing anything. And yet, y'all will sit here and tell me, but Alabama deserves to get in. Again, change the fucking chat and change the fucking tone of the comment. Change the argument and stop saying we want the 12 best teams in the college playoffs because that shit's a lie. You want the teams that you can market. And I know people gonna sit there and say, well, Notre Dame's a massive college, just a massive team. Compared to Alabama at this moment, no, the fuck it's not. Alabama should have never been in. That is ridiculous. You're sitting here trying to make up an excuse for why Alabama's in, and your excuses fucking suck. Alabama is what the first 3-loss team in the college playoffs, by the way. First 3-loss team in the college playoffs. Justify that shit all you want. Justify that shit all you want. You can't reward them for beating Georgia earlier in the season, but then choose to ignore that they fucking lost to Florida State also the first week of the season. You can't do it. You can't have it both fucking ways, man. And that's where I'm trying to figure this part out. You can't have it both fucking ways. You can't sit there and say, well, they have the best win in Georgia. Yeah, and they also have the worst fucking loss in Florida State. How the fuck do you sit there and give them credit for one and ignore the other? I don't understand. I'm getting to the point where I think we need to get back to the BCS. Fuck it. 2 teams work for me. Fuck this bullshit. Because human eyes are lying eyes. Because these niggas are sitting here trying to tell me that makes logical fucking sense. You're trying to tell me Alabama makes the playoffs because they beat Georgia earlier in the season, and then they got their ass handed to them by the same fucking team Saturday, but yet you can't give a proper understanding and explain to me why we just gonna pretend like they didn't get their ass routed in the first week of the season by Florida State, who absolutely shit the bed the rest of the season. But we're gonna pretend because I guess, nigga. I guess. You that shit don't compute. Like, we're gonna ignore the Florida State loss, even though that was a really bad fucking loss. But it was the first week of the season. Come on. Okay. If Notre Dame and Miami got in because they beat Notre Dame the first week of the season, then why can we not sit there and say, well, why the fuck is Alabama even in the conversation when they had the worst loss of the entire fucking year? I'm trying my hardest to make that make sense, and it can't. Which brings me to the schedule. Like, bro, at this point in time, bro, just play conference. We don't even need all this extra shit. Just play conference, bro. This is ridiculous. This is fucking stupid. It's getting to the point now where it's just like, bro, why the fuck are you even scheduling week ones and week? Now let's just get to conference play and let's get this shit over with. Because you're just telling us if you, and I don't even sit there and say you could win your conference. And I don't even think winning your conference right now means any fucking thing. But you can't sit here and tell me that we're just gonna ignore week 1 of college football when we all saw Florida State beat the hell out of them. I don't understand this logic. I am sorry. I don't get it. And yeah, I'm against this. I truly despise I truly despise the college committee. College playoff committee, they suck. They're terrible. They suck at their job. They're fucking horrible. You switch everybody out every fucking year, and every year we have a fucking problem. This year is just the most egregious. There is no way in hell you about to sit there and tell me Alabama gets in because they kind of sort of probably ran the table in the SEC. We're just gonna forget the fact that they lost to Florida State, who's one of the worst teams in the ACC, because that don't go with your argument. It doesn't help your argument for why Alabama's in. I fucking guess, dude. I fucking guess. If people want to sit there and say, like I said, Notre Dame 2 losses are better than the actual fucking wins Alabama has. Outside of Georgia, Vanderbilt, yeah. But really, to be honest, the 2 losses that Notre Dame actually has is actually better than the 2 wins. Because, like I said, Georgia just beat Alabama. And it wasn't even close. Georgia just beat Alabama, and it wasn't even close. So how the fuck are you making an excuse for Alabama beating Georgia earlier in the season when Georgia just absolutely showed you, yeah, that was one game. We're better than them. Yeah, it should have been Notre Dame, and it should have been Miami. I'm gonna go to the grave with that, but I'm gonna go to the grave with that. There's no way in hell you about to sit up here and give me that. Nope. Which brings me to the college playoffs. This is the second year that they're doing the 12-team playoff. The second year they're doing the 12-team playoff. Last year, it was different, where it was like you have to have all 4 conference champions are the 4 seed. And then this year, it's like, oh, just the 4 best teams. Huh? This is what I would do. This is me. This is what I would do with the college football playoffs. This is what the fuck I would do with the college football playoff. I would have the 12 teams. The first 4 seeds go to conference champions. If you did what the fuck we asked you to do, which is run the table in your conference, win the championship on championship weekend, then guess what? You belong, your ass, in a conference championship, and you belong with a top seed. You get a bye. So Indiana, you're the number 1 seed. You're undefeated. You did everything we told you to do. You went to Eugene, beat Penn State, beat Oregon. You went to Penn State, beat Penn State. You beat Ohio State when it mattered most. You deserve to be in the conversation. I don't give a shit what nobody say. They are the number 1 seed. The second seed will go to the SEC or the Big 12. And that's a real good debate, which I think Texas Tech. Now, you can sit there and say, well, Alabama beat Georgia in Georgia. It's way more impactful because they lost to a somewhat good Alabama team. And so to sit there and say that they lost to a good, to say they lost to Alabama at home, by the way. And when you look at Texas Tech's game, Texas Tech lost to Arizona State. In Arizona State, which, again, I live in Texas. That Pacific, Central Time Zone shit is real. I was out in Vegas last year. That Pacific to Central Time Zone shit is real. You feel it. You can feel that. So you have a team at Texas Tech who is used to finishing games at like 2 o'clock in the daytime, who's going out to Arizona, who's playing them at literally 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock their time, and it's 10 here. So like the energy is different, and they still put up a fight and only lost by 4 fucking points. That's a real question. That's a real conversation. I do believe that they would have given it to Georgia because Georgia is just a bigger team and it's a more impactful team, and you can't give them the 1 seed. You probably wouldn't give them the 2 seed. So Georgia will be 2, Texas Tech will be 3, and then 4 will go to the 4 team in the conference conversation, which would be, to me, Tulane, because you're not putting Duke in because they're 7-5, and even though they won a conference, they're not worthy of being in the college playoffs. It's fucking ridiculous. And the ACC is stupid, and they don't know what the fuck they're doing over there. And you should probably remove that fucking commissioner because he sucks at commissioning. But I would have Tulane as a 4 seed. They're the last real good conference team, and this is something else I have been very adamant about since the Pac-12 pretty much died. We're still calling shit Power Five when it's really Power Four. There's only 4 conferences left standing in the so-called Power Five, and that is SEC, ACC, Big Ten, and the Big 12. That's it. And you call these other groups of five. The fuck? Tulane will be my fourth seed. Tulane will be my fourth seed. Tulane would have been my fourth seed. They have earned it. They are the conference champions of the Atlantic Conference. They would have been my fourth seed. Now, after that, now we're having a conversation. That 12th seed would have went to James Madison. I would have kept James Madison, and I know a lot of people are like, oh man, James Madison, this is weird. You know who used to say that shit? A lot of us. You know when we stopped saying that shit? When Boise State beat Oklahoma. When UCF beat who the fuck UCF beat? They beat somebody good. We always say this shit. Now, has it changed in the last? Yeah, some games, some things have changed. But I'm up for the upset because I that's the thing about college football. You don't know until you get on the football field. You don't know. I remember people being like, Oklahoma's gonna beat the shit out of Boise State. They got Adrian Peterson. They got look at Oklahoma. And then you realize, oh shit, Boise State got actual really good fucking players. And they had a lot of trick plays, a lot of shit that they never seen. And then the Statue of Liberty play, which absolutely fucked Oklahoma up. I would have kept the 12th seed as James Madison. They're a conference champion, no matter if you don't like it or not. They are a conference champion. They're 12-1. Like I said, the only loss was to Louisville, who's a really good team in the ACC. But then my 5th seed would have been Ohio State. You don't get a 4th seed. And even though you're undefeated, and you're undefeated for a good stretch of the season, and you're the number 1 team for a good stretch of the season, you can't get the number 1 seed. You lost. Losing has consequences. At some point, we got to get back to that. College football has absolutely, positively lost sight of that for some apparent fucking reason. Losing has consequences, bro. Ohio State should be the 5th fucking seed. That is ridiculous that they're not. Ohio State should be the 5th seed. Yes, they only got 1 loss, but it is what it is. Ohio State versus James Madison. Ohio State probably robbed him, and we move on, right? Who knows? The 6th seed would be Oregon. Oregon is the 3rd best team in the Big Ten. They just didn't get a chance to play for the championship game because they lost to Indiana earlier in the season. But for the most part, Oregon's been right there in the Big Ten conference. Oregon would be my 6th seed. My 7th seed would be Texas A&M. I know a lot of people sit there and think, man, why would you give it to Texas A&M? Texas A&M has been undefeated for most of the season, just like Ohio State. The only loss, and you penalized them for losing to Texas, who y'all swear to God was good all year, but do your thing. But you penalized them for losing to Texas, which I didn't understand that shit when Ole Miss literally just lost their fucking head coach. like literally just lost their head coach. And yet you're sitting there and making an excuse for why they're in, and while they have a higher seed, I don't understand that shit. I'm sorry. Texas A&M, who's undefeated for most of the, and this is another thing. How could you penalize Texas A&M for losing to Texas? Which, yes, I said it. Perfectly said it. Losing has consequences. But Alabama's in no matter fucking what when they got routed by Georgia? Huh? Huh? Ohio State's still in the top 4, even though they lost to Indiana. I don't understand this shit. I'm sorry. Texas A&M will be my 7th seed. Texas A&M will be my 7th seed. They will be my 7th seed. My 8th seed will be Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss, you compare the two teams, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, it's a fucking toss-up. It really is a toss-up. It just goes off of what you prefer. I think Ole Miss, yes, even though losing their head coach is a massive fucking problem, because it is. I still believe Ole Miss is somewhat a better team than Oklahoma. Ninth will be Oklahoma. Ninth will be Oklahoma. 10th will be Miami because they beat Notre Dame. So you have to get them to 10. And 11 be Notre Dame. That's how that shit should have went. That's how it should go. That's how the college playoffs should go. All of and this is my thing about the college football. They made something so simple fucking complicated and mind-boggling. You had a formula. It fucking worked. This is why I continuously say you went from 4 to 12 in a year. The first last year it worked the fuck out perfectly for you. This year it doesn't make fucking sense. You got rid of the 4 seeds are conference champions to now be, oh, it's just the 4 best teams. Why? You had a formula and it worked, and because you didn't want a team that doesn't seem like they deserve to be a team with a bye, you fucking switched the rule because you did. And now this year, it actually would make sense if you had the 4 best conference teams in it, because you can make an argument for Tulane being a 4 team. You can actually make an argument. Having the 4 best teams is just stupid because you just told every single one of us, you physically just told every single one of us that even winning your conference championship doesn't come with significance. You had Indiana beat Ohio State, something that people didn't think they could ever fucking do, and they did it. You had Georgia rout Alabama, and you sat there and said, "Oh, Alabama's in no matter what." The fuck? It's like, bro, and again, like I said, the scheduling is getting to the point now where it's like, bro, why are we even scheduling teams? Just put a bunch of fucking cupcakes on your schedule until you get to the conference championship game. And even then, you will get penalized for that shit. You still get penalized, depending on what conference you're in. You'll still get penalized because you put a bunch of fucking cupcakes on your schedule. But if you actually looked at Ohio State this year, outside of Texas, outside of the Texas game, Ohio State didn't really play anybody. Ohio State didn't play a goddamn soul. Indiana played more difficult teams than Ohio State did. Oregon, they went into Eugene and beat Oregon. They went to Penn State, even though James Franklin at the time was fired. But they still went into Penn State and beat Penn State. Who did Ohio State play? Michigan? And that's about fucking it. Like that's it. So you wonder why they lost to a team that was somewhat more challenged than it was in Indiana. If you ask me if this college playoff is a success or a fail, this year is a complete and utter fail. This shit sucked. It's not good. And like I said, the hashtag the best team should get in. We want the 12 best teams. Get rid of that fucking hashtag because that shit sucks. That's a stupid fucking thing. You do not want the best 12 teams. You want biased motherfuckers. You want to sit here and give me some bullshit about how Alabama deserves to be in Because look at their schedule. What schedule? The fucking one that lost to Florida State the first week, and y'all treating it like that never. Oh, forget that happened. No. Just forget that happened. That didn't happen. That didn't happen. Look at what they did in the SEC. Oh, you mean them losing to Oklahoma at home? Them getting their ass handed to them by Georgia in the SEC championship game? What are we sitting here celebrating? The college playoff sucked. The reveal, everything, it sucked. It was a stupid ass thing to do. And I'm to the point, like I said, I'm to the point now. I'm missing a BCS because humans are putting this shit together, and they're trying to make excuses for why this shit makes sense, and it fucking doesn't. The fact that you have more people sitting here saying, "Yeah, this shit puzzles me. I don't understand how Alabama's in when they had 3 losses, and 2 of their losses they got blown the fuck out." And one of the losses they lost at home. And now people gonna say, well, so did Notre Dame. They lost by a point. A point. A fucking point to Texas A&M, who was undefeated up until last Friday. I'm done with this college playoffs, man. Go back to either 4 teams or just get rid of the fucking playoffs because this shit sucks. You can't even pick the fucking teams right. And yet you got the fucking nerve to sit and tell us the best 12 teams will get in. How the fuck is Alabama the best 12 teams? You can make an argument and say Notre Dame ain't one of the best 12 teams. Oh, that's funny. That's very funny because they have literally now a Heisman nominated player who probably, if I'm picking this shit, I would give Jeremiah Love the fucking Heisman. He deserves it. I love the quarterback from Indiana, but when I look at the damn people that's going up against him, I'm like, bro, Jeremiah Love is literally Notre Dame's offense. And once they realized that shit, it was easy money. It was easy money every game. Every game, bro. Jeremiah Love deserves to win the Heisman, bro. I don't fuck what nobody say. This raises me to 4. And that is the first 4. First 4 seeds get a bye. So that's Indiana, that's Ohio State, that's Georgia, and Texas Tech. They will not be playing in the next week because this starts next Friday, I think. Are the first couple games of this playoff. Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia, and Texas Tech are the first 4 seeds. But my question is, when is this all said and done? Which team should be worried about who they might play in the first round? Now, if you're Indiana, your teams is Oklahoma or Alabama. Okay. If you are Ohio State, your teams is either Texas A&M or Miami. It's challenging as shit. I don't want to see any other one of those teams if I'm taking about Ohio State. If you're Georgia, your teams will be what? Georgia will be well. Georgia would be fuck. Who would Georgia be playing? Tulane or Ole Miss? You already beat Ole Miss, but that Tulane game is very fucking intriguing. And if you're Texas Tech, you get either Oregon. I mean, no Oregon. Yeah, Oregon, who's the 5th seed. Oregon or James Madison, which a lot of people is like, come on, this is a mismatch. Come on, man. Oregon's gonna easily route these motherfuckers, especially in Eugene. Oh, it's gonna be a mismatch. But which one of these four teams? Because you got to realize this will not be at home. This will be on neutral sites. So which one of these four teams I believe have a real problem going into this? And I'm gonna do this. My least, like they got this shit in the bag team up until my team. I'm like, ooh, shit, this might be a problematic situation. It's only four, so it's very easy to do this. My level of concern for Indiana is a three. It's a three. Um, I think Indiana has the better quarterback between them, Oklahoma, or Alabama. I know a lot of people love Ty Simpson, but Fernando Mendoza is fucking incredible. That dude can handle the fucking pressure, and he can handle it better than most people thought he could. I don't know if he's a starting quarterback in the NFL. That's a whole nother fucking conversation that me and my brother Juan will talk about when we get into April. But this is one of those times where you can show people that you can handle anything. The fact that he went up against that Ohio State defense and handled himself like he handled himself with those two receivers also, who are really good receivers, that offensive line is pretty nice, pretty okay, and that running game is pretty decent as well. I think Indiana, my level of concern is a three. I think even if they play against an Alabama or Oklahoma, I think also Indiana defensively can shut down one of those teams. If it's Alabama, I think they shut them fuck down. I think they shut their ass the fuck down. I don't even think it's. I think they shut Alabama the fuck down. Ole Miss will be interesting to see. I mean, Oklahoma will be interesting to see. But you got to also put into perspective, their quarterback is very young, and this will be really his first test on the road in a neutral sighting. Let's see how he actually physically does and handles it. Because the first time he did that was in Dallas, Texas, which I don't really call that a neutral fucking site. It was in Dallas, Texas. And yes, even though he came off of a broken hand, he still lost to Texas in that game, and it wasn't even close. So it will be an interesting game. So my level for concern for Indiana when they get to the semifinal or to the quarterfinals is a three. It's a three. On a scale of like 10, it's a three. It's there. It's just not super overwhelming. Like, oh yeah, Indiana. I think Indiana is going to show everybody why they're the number one seed and why they've been a really good fucking team. Because again, they're the most battle tested out of probably everyone, which is crazy to say, and yet they still are undefeated. They're the most battle tested out of everyone, and they went through trenches for real, to get to that number one seed. So I got Indiana at a three. On my scale of 10, it's a three. My next team is Texas Tech. It's right in the middle, five. Um, Texas Tech has the defense. Their offense is pretty fucking good. That's a scary fucking team. Like, I get it. People haven't really seen Texas Tech really play a lot. But if you watch them against BYU, who was the second best team in the Big 12, they fucking killed them. Like, and it wasn't like it was like a okay, maybe BYU was just intimidated being on the road against Texas Tech. No, they did this shit Saturday too. Like, it wasn't even close. Like, it was a bad fucking game, man. It's a five. I do believe more so in Texas A&M or Miami. I mean, not Texas A&M or Miami because they will not be playing. I think Oregon will give them a game. I think Oregon has enough firepower to give Texas Tech a problem, but I don't think they have enough to physically stop Texas Tech. And I think that defense, again, we're not putting this shit into perspective. A lot of these quarterbacks have not really been in neutral sites before, where the crowd is kind of split. So you're putting Dante Moore, who's the quarterback of Oregon, in a neutral site. That's a pretty big moment for him because he's got to show up. against that Texas Tech defense with some time to watch them play. And depending on how the game goes with James Madison, and then on top of that, James Madison, same thing. Like, if James Madison somehow, some way pulls off the upset, I don't think you get past Texas Tech. I think defensively they'll kill you, and I don't think you have the defense structure to stop them. But if it's Oregon, offensively, if you keep the ball, keep possession, I think you force Texas Tech to actually do more. But if that game is tight as fuck, I think Texas Tech pull away. I think Texas Tech can find a way and pull away. I think that defense is fucking stout. That's a stout fucking defense. So my level of concern is a 5. Next is Georgia. And I give Georgia a 8. Give Georgia 8 of my concern meter. I am very concerned about Georgia. The reason why I say I'm very concerned about Georgia is because Georgia had to play Texas. They had to play Ole Miss. They had to play who else? They've had to play Texas. They had to play Ole Miss. They played Alabama twice. They played Florida, of course. But the reason why I'm more concerned about Georgia than I am Texas Tech or Indiana is because, yeah, Georgia killed Alabama in the SEC championship game. That's awesome. That's great. But that was revenge. They wanted to prove to everybody that Alabama was not better than them. What happens when you play against a Texas A&M or a Miami and Carson Beck is on the opposite side and he's like, I have to kick their ass. They sat there and told me I wasn't worthy of being a Georgia quarterback. Matter of fact, they told me hit the transfer portal. Get the fuck out of here. We got somebody better. And that Miami defense, ooh, shit. It's going to be bad, man. That Miami defense is probably the best defense Georgia's going to see all year. If they play Miami, that's going to be a fucking problem. That is going to be a very, and I mean very, very bad situation. That Miami defense could shut down Georgia's offense. And Georgia's offense is not that great to begin with. I know a lot of people sit there and say, Georgia's offense is great. They're decent. They're decent. When you're playing against certain teams, but Miami's defense is fucking stout this year. That's a scary fucking defense. And the offense of Miami is really fucking good. And Carson Beck is going to feel like I have to prove something. Because y'all sat there and told me I wasn't worthy of being Georgia's quarterback. That Gunner Stockton was better than me. I gotta whoop your ass off of principle. If it's Texas A&M, I still think Texas A&M could get Georgia. I think Texas A&M, and I've said this numerous times, I think Texas A&M is one of the best teams in college football. I just feel like you put them in, listen, they got put in a situation on a Friday night after Thanksgiving to go to that rival Texas building. And you expect them to win. I said that the last time I did I Believe Sports. I said that's a very concerning game because it's a Friday fucking night after Thanksgiving. You don't know what these kids mentally are going to be like. And they go out here and they lose. I still think I still believe that Texas A&M is still a better team than SEC. And I know people are going to sit there and think I'm crazy. I think Texas A&M is the better team in SEC. And if they play Georgia and they beat Georgia, would you be surprised? Yeah, most of you would be, but I wouldn't. Miami too. They play Georgia. They probably could beat Georgia. Would I be surprised? Fuck no. I would not be surprised because I'm telling y'all this shit now. And on 10, it is Ohio State. It's Ohio State. The pressure for Ohio State just got super high. Georgia would play Miami Ohio State would play Miami. Miami and Texas A&M. Georgia would play Tulane or Ole Miss. Which if they play Ole Miss, I think they can get Ole Miss. If they play Tulane, Tulane's sneaky. Tulane's a sneaky fucking team, bro. I don't think people give Tulane enough credit. Tulane's a sneaky fucking team. That's a good fucking team that they have built in the last couple of years. If Tulane could go into Ole Miss, which has been like a house of horrors for them, and beat them, and then go into the SEC, which will, by the way, y'all realize Georgia Tulane would be in New Orleans for the Sugar Bowl. I'm not saying Tulane can beat Georgia, but I'm not opposed to it. I'm not gonna be surprised if they fucking do it. Do I think Ole Miss can beat Georgia? No, I don't think Ole Miss can beat Georgia, especially without Lane Kiffin. And I don't even like Lane Kiffin like that. And I know he's the new head coach at LSU. I don't like Lane Kiffin like that. But I think the pressure of having to beat Georgia without him is going to hit even harder as the game progresses, especially if you don't outright rout them out the gate. You don't beat them out the gate. Tulane and Georgia will be an interesting fucking game. Tulane being technically the road team, but at home, that's a scary fucking site to be in if you're Georgia. I don't give a fuck what nobody say. That's supposed to be a neutral site, but it won't be because you're actually in Tulane's backyard. You're physically in Tulane's backyard. Like, that's a scare. And on top, like I've been saying, offensively, Georgia is decent, but Georgia's defense for most of the year, yeah, they got better as the year progressed. But for most of the year, Georgia's defense has been very fucking shaky. And now you putting them in in New Orleans on Tulane's territory with everybody rooting for fucking Tulane. That's an interesting. You know what, man? I'm gonna be honest. I'm rooting for Tulane to beat Ole Miss because I want to see that game. I want to see Georgia and Tulane 1-on-1. That shit sound absolutely crazy in New Orleans. Oh yeah, oh yeah. I'm calling for my. I know I'm about to do it, but I want Tulane to beat Ole Miss. I need that to happen. I need that shit to happen because I want to see what Georgia would do. And by the way, last year they were the better seed over Notre Dame, and they went into the Sugar Bowl and they fucking lost. What about? Could it happen again? Who knows? Especially with Tulane being in New Orleans for the Sugar Bowl would be the craziest fucking thing on the planet because you're literally watching a New Orleans team literally in the Superdome against Georgia of all. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Let's do that. And Ohio State's my 10. Ohio State's a 10 for me. Like I said, it ain't just the fact that you just lost. I think the level of competition that you've played this year has not been there. Excuse me. They haven't been there. You played Texas, you played Michigan, and even in that game, you struggled a little bit. And then you just play Indiana and you lost. In which, by the way, again, is same thing with Georgia, right? Same thing with Ohio State Saturday. Being in Indiana, technically, it's supposed to be a neutral site, but you're in Indiana playing against the Hoosiers. Was that really neutral? Like, it's like, really, was that fucking neutral? Because you're like, yeah, it's supposed to be a neutral game, but it's not a neutral fucking game. It's not. So yeah, that's a. But Ohio State is my 10 because I feel like the level of competition they haven't really had to rise to the occasion a lot. And when you don't really have to rise to the occasion, you have games like Saturday where you're just like, oh, if we just ink it out here, or we do this, or we just stay the course. But a team like Indiana who's like, no, we got to beat them. No, we got this. Fuck that. Stop them. Hit them. Turn over. Boom. When you're playing against a team like Indiana, it's a different kind of conversation. And then on top of that, like I was saying about Georgia versus Texas A&M or Miami, It's the same fucking problem. It's like you're putting them in a situation where Miami defensively is just scary. Like Miami defensively is scary. Like I said, Carson Beck is now out to prove that his years in Georgia taught him something. And you don't want to be the team that loses to Ohio State. I don't know if Miami goes into Texas A&M and wins. I think Miami's defense is a little bit better than Texas A&M's. But that offense in Texas A&M is superior. That shit is that's a good offense. But again, it's a neutral goddamn site. And Indiana's gonna have the Rose Bowl. Texas Tech is gonna be the Cotton Bowl. I think it's Dallas. So yeah, I think Texas Tech is gonna be the Cotton Bowl. Yeah, Georgia's gonna be the Sugar Bowl. And I'm assuming you're gonna be the Fiesta Bowl. So Ohio State, Miami, and Arizona. Ohio State, Texas A&M, and Arizona. Who the fuck wins that game? Who the fuck wins that game, bro? You got a lot of fans in the Pacific, the West Coast kind of, that fuck with Miami, that fuck with Texas A&M. Again, is that a neutral site? We shall see. That's gonna be an interesting fucking game. I'm looking forward to that game. That's gonna be an interesting game. I'm looking forward to that game. Whoever wins, Texas A&M or Miami, them going up against Ohio State, woo, that's gonna be a good fucking game. Oh my god, that's gonna be a good game. That's gonna be a good fucking game. And last but not least, the 11 and 12 seeds are teams that's supposedly not supposed to be in the college playoffs, which I don't understand that shit. Tulane and James Madison. James Madison plays against Oregon and Oregon. Good fucking luck. And Tulane goes back to Ole Miss, where they played Ole Miss earlier in the season and lost to Ole Miss earlier in the season. Like I said, it's a house of horrors for them. But what team could pull off the upset? I don't even think Tulane. Maybe this is just how I think. I don't think Tulane beating Ole Miss is an upset. I'm sorry. I don't think Tulane beating Ole Miss would be an upset. So I don't even like framing this question. Here's the question: do I think James Madison can pull off the upset in Oregon? I give that shit a very slight 10%. Now a lot of people are like 10%, nigga. That's a lot. Oregon could go sleep. Oregon could sleepwalk because they're like, bro, we kind of have a bye, and everybody's saying that shit. Oregon pretty much has the easiest fucking game of everyone. Which, if you sleepwalk in a game like this to a team that is up for it and wants to prove they can win and prove that they belong, even though you're at home, if you're sleepwalking in the game, which Oregon kind of fucking does, James Madison can beat you. So I do give it a 10% chance. I know a lot of people sit here and think I'm crazy for saying that. It does depend on Oregon sleepwalking. Now, do I believe Oregon can sleepwalk? Yeah, a little bit. I do believe Oregon can actually sleepwalk in this game because I think they're like, man, we got the shit in the bag. Come on now. Got the shit in the bag. But even in that sense, right? You're sitting there saying to yourself, Oregon, you're sitting there saying to yourself, Oregon should win this game outright. But it's something about an underdog, bro. I don't know, man. Like I say all the time, maybe it's just me. I root for the fucking underdogs, man. Now, do I think James Madison got a chance in hell? I gave it 10%. But it really does depend on Oregon. Oregon's got to go out there and be absolutely, positively the worst fucking team On the fucking planet, bro. They just gotta go out there and just suck. Yeah, that's one of the reasons. So yeah, do I think James Madison can pull up the upset? 10%. For a lot of people sitting there saying, "Well, what about Tulane? You think Tulane can pull up the upset?" I think Tulane is closer to Ole Miss than people think. I think Tulane can actually beat Ole Miss. I know people think that's absolutely crazy, but I do believe Tulane can beat Ole Miss, especially when Lane Kiffin not being there. Because most of those types of games like that, where the competitive balance is actually as closer than people think, that comes down to coaching. And yes, even though Tulane's head coach is also leaving and going, I think, to Florida, he isn't leaving anytime soon, and that's the thing. So yeah, but that is all. That is it. This is I Believe Sports. Uh, like I said, I got one more episode left, and that's the I Believe Sports Awards, which I'll be doing hopefully tomorrow. And then I'm done with I Believe Sports for 2025, man. It's been a great year for the show. I've enjoyed it. NFL playoffs about to come into fruition, about to come in. You got college football playoffs. You got basketball finally hitting full swing. You got hockey doing their thing. Boxing is finally coming back into you know to commission with this shit. They're finally putting some really good boxing matches on there. So 2026 is looking very fucking interesting, man. Very fucking interesting. So yeah, that is all. I am Brandon Janeau. It's Life of Times of Mute. Oh my god. This is I Believe Sports. Who's in? Who's out? College football playoff show. And I'm out. I'll tell y'all soon. Peace.